Hey folks, Yishai Fleisher here in Jerusalem with some eye on Zion, a little bit of view into what's happening here in Israel, sharing it with the world, and you're part of it wherever you are. So the last few days have seen the continued uptick of the Jihad juggernaut which is striking at Israel. And today was a day that saw at least three attacks, at least three attacks that have been reported, and I wanted to just let you know about that. One just happened about an hour ago before taping, and two jihadists were standing at a bus stop in Gush Etzion, that's south of Jerusalem. A soldier approached these two young Arabs, would-be jihadists, and they knifed him in the head and in the face. Other soldiers took action and shot these two young jihadists dead. Similarly, today, another pair of young folks who are thinking in the ISIS mindset were slinking around the old city of Jerusalem. A police officer noticed them, apprehended them, and basically found a knife and a large axe on one of the would-be assailants. And same thing happened also in Hebron, that's also south of Jerusalem, that's south of Gush Etzion, that's the ancient capital of Judea, and in Hebron, where the tomb of the patriarchs and the matriarchs is, two matriarchs, that is two jihadist ladies, were apprehended with knives on them as well. So some people are calling this the knife intifada. The only thing I don't like about the word intifada is it speaks of some kind of resistance movement or some kind of will to create self-determination. And we know that in truth, this is not about self-determination or about coexistence. It's about jihad. It's just dressed up in those beautiful liberal ideals that we cherish and protect. And that is, the rights of peoples, the rights of nations to live in their homelands. And the quote-unquote Palestinians have certainly dressed their cause in this liberal guise. But that is not really what's going on here. This is actually plain old jihad, and it's being fought in the streets of Israel because Israel is a very uncomfortable entity for the jihad, and that is because it is a shiny country in the midst of their desert, and also because we are not Islamic. We don't believe in Islam. And that really perturbs Islamic jihadists to no end. And by the way, I distinguish Islamic jihadists from Arabs. There are many Arabs who think differently. Not all of them accept this form of Islam. Many of them want to live more decently, and many of them don't want this violence and this war, but they are subdued as well because the jihad, like the word Islam itself, is about submission. Any case, what I wanted to share with you today, other than that perturbing news of these three attacks, but at least the ability of Israel to push it back, is actually an article that I've written that appeared in a few newspapers already. It appeared in Israel Hayom, and it appeared in Algemeiner, and I'm going to post the links below, and it's been retweeted a lot of times. People are excited about it, and it's really an article that deals with 10 things. Yes, a list. Everybody loves lists today, right? So 10 things that we can learn from this jihad. So I'm going to be looking down at my printed copy of this article a few times, but we'll go through the points, and I think that maybe it'll help us understand what we're dealing with and how to deal with it. So point number one about the current situation is that the good news, and there is some good news about this jihad, about this intifada attack in the streets of Jerusalem and Israel, is that we could stop feeling guilty. Because for a long time we've been taught that the reason that the Palestinians are putting up a fight against Israel is because we are taking away their homeland and because they want to live side by side. And all of these, as I started explaining before, these messages that basically ascribe to the jihad against us all these good motives, really, deep inside good motives. But since the last Gaza war, which was started really for no reason against Israel, other than the fact that there is an Israel. And also this knife intifada, what brought this on? Nobody really knows. More and more Israelis have come to the conclusion that the real reason for this is nothing but this word that I've been using over and over again, which is jihad, the will to dominate the world and certainly eradicate Israel as well. So the good news about this current intifada is that more and more Israelis are coming to the conclusion that we have to deal with this as a war, an existential war to try to destroy us, and not to try to appease the jihad and feed it and grow its appetite by giving it yet more land or talking about concessions or sitting down to quote-unquote negotiations. No, the way to deal with this is very clear, and that is first and foremost to stop feeling guilty. So that's point number one. As I wrote, there's a realization within Israel that the hostile minority, the Arab hostile minority, not all of them, but those who have accepted jihad, does not accept the legitimacy of the state of Israel. And with that clarity that there is this within us growing a group that does not accept the legitimacy of Israel, we're going to have to deal with it accordingly. Point number two is that the Jewish spirit is coming back. The Jewish fighting spirit is coming back, right? What I mean to say is that we've seen a lot of horrible videos of Jews being attacked by a merciless stabber, and it's quite horrible. But on the other hand, we've also seen Israelis fighting back, soldiers neutralizing these jihadists, and also the average citizen shooting, kicking, fighting, clubbing, doing whatever they can to protect themselves. And I have even seen ultra-Orthodox Jewish bookstores selling pepper spray and electric shockers to give everybody a fighting chance, a tactical chance to ward off this enemy that wants to take everybody down, men, women, and children. So the fighting spirit that I've seen in the streets is an incredibly positive thing. It means that the citizenry realizes that A, they want to live, that they're not afraid to push back, and that indeed they are going to fight, and we are going to fight. And that is an awesome signal to the jihad, that you're dealing with a tough citizenry here in Israel, not just the well-trained police or army, but no, the average citizen, maybe the ultra-Orthodox Jew that's going to spray you with some pepper spray in the face. The average citizen in Israel is going to fight back on the jihad. So that's two really great pieces of news. Point number three, which is very important. The point number three, I called it, when we're terrified, they win. What I mean by that is you must understand the inner workings of the jihad. The jihad is not trying to, the jihad here in Israel, is not trying to beat Israel through great military conquest. They don't have helicopters and tanks. They're not about to roll into Israel in tank columns. But what they want to achieve is terror. They want to terrorize us. They want to make us feel afraid inside. And if they are able to spread that terror through social media, through horrible videos, and if they're able to keep us from coming to Jerusalem, from living a normal life, if they're able to put fear into our hearts, that's actually the very tactical victory that they're yearning for. And so my advice in this case of terrorism is to defy them, defiance. And that defiance is by going out in the streets, showing that fighting spirit, carrying that pepper spray, carrying that rolling pin, whatever you got. Certainly if you're packing heat, as they call it, Israelis are trained in military affairs and military knowledge. So if you're carrying a gun to push back on the jihadists, that's really good. But most important is you got to carry a courageous heart. We have to encourage courage. We have to be fearless right now. Fearless does not mean no fear. It means we overcome fear. And a phrase that I learned from Rabbi Yom Tov Glazer is that we have to flex the muscle of courage. We have to flex the muscle of courage right now. So basically, we've learned that we can stop feeling guilty, that the Jewish fighting spirit is back, and that terrorists want to terrorize. That means that they want to spread terror, and we shall not let them. We shall not let them enter our hearts. That was point number 3. Point number 4, signaling that the signals that we have to send. And point number 4 is, don't mess with us, you'll lose. That's right. Don't mess with us, you'll lose. Dear Jihad, you see, Jihad, you started with Israel in the beginning of the Jewish state. We were 600,000 Jews. Now we are 6 million Jews. Where is your Jihad? What has it brought you? Nothing. And moreover, when faced with questions about Israel's fighting spirit, Israel's fighting force, a killing of terrorists, you may be asked by the CNNs and the Algeziras of this world, or the New York Times, you may be asked, aren't you using disproportionate force in order to subdue the terrorists? Shouldn't you be nicer to them? And the answer to said question is not, well, we're doing our best to minimize civilian casualties and we have a very moral army and we're trying so hard and we throw little leaflets and we make phone calls. Hey, terrorists, we're coming, so please, hide away your precious children. That is true, but it's not a good answer, because a much better answer is, when you mess with us, you will face our fire. We are a small nation, post-Holocaust, surrounded by a jihadist milieu here in the Middle East, and we will fight you hard. If you shoot at us, get ready to receive our fire back. If people on your side die, that's because you started with us. Don't mess with us. That's the proper answer. My friends, don't fall into the Israeli Hasbara line that Israel is a moral superiority and all that. Don't go there. Tell them the truth. Mess with us and we'll mess with you. Israel does not have tolerance for the murder of its citizenry, and we the citizens will defend ourselves, and we have every right to. And if you start with us, we'll end it. So that was point number 4. Don't mess with us, you'll lose. Say it and be proud. Point number 5. Very important point. The world. The world. You hear a lot about the world. And people are saying, the world doesn't care about us. The world doesn't care about Israel. Why isn't the New York Times covering this? Look at CNN. It's biased reporting. And that's all 100% true. 100% true. There's biased reporting and the world doesn't care. And they really, they care just to make us look bad. They prefer to focus on the violence here in Israel, which is easily eclipsed by a weekend in the south side of Chicago, or certainly any given minute in Syria, which is just so much more horrendous of a tragedy. Not that our tragedy is a good thing, but the media is disproportionate in its coverage and its blame on Israel. But here's the thing. Who cares? Who cares? You see, the world never cared for Israel, never protected us. And that's why we established something called Israel. See, Israel is the country that was established because we came to the conclusion of never again. Never again shall we rely on the world to protect us. No, we will create a state that will defend Jewish rights. So I want to urge you to understand point number 5, which is, don't worry about the world. We Israel and the Jewish people have to defend our own interests. And that's strength. And strength comes from self-reliance and, of course, reliance on God Almighty, who gives us our strength and gives us our mission to come back to this homeland. Don't worry about the world. Let's do what we need to do. So that was point number 5. Point number 6 is one which is a bit sophisticated but important to understand, and that's an issue of classification of who we're dealing with here. A lot of people would like to, as I mentioned earlier, see the jihad against us in liberal terminology, meaning to say there's another peoples that want self-determination on this land, let's share this land, and so on and so forth. I don't believe that that's true. You probably don't believe that that's true. You understand that there's a jihad against us. So a second classification is to understand that there's this war between Islam and the Jews here in the Middle East, and that the jihad wants to swallow us up, and that's also true. But I wanted to get to a bit of a deeper point, which is that the war here is between the creative force Israel and the chaotic, entropy force of the jihad. You see, the jihad is everything the opposite of Israel. Israel is productive, creative, procreative, loving of life, loving of children, loving of rights, loving of freedoms of expression, loving of opportunities, of jobs, of building. And as I like to say, when you walk around Israel, you see two things. You see cranes and pregnant women. We're a country that loves life. We're a people that loves life. But our jihadist challengers repudiate life. And in their wake, wherever they go, they leave utter destruction. They are a destructive force in this world. They are a chaotic force in this world. They're an entropic force in this world. They basically do the opposite of build things up. They desertize and undermine the stability and the structure of things. And so it's important here in point number 6 to understand that the jihad is a force of chaos, and that we have to fight that chaos by creativity and by order, but also to understand it. They don't want to build something. They don't want to build a country or even a caliphate. What they want is to kind of bring the world into its before the first day of creation, what we call in Hebrew tohu vavohu, like total desolation and destruction. And we have to fight that. But we're going to fight that through understanding what they really want to achieve, which is anarchy and chaos and destruction and destitution. And we're going to fight them with our arms, with our brains, with our prayers, but also with our love of life and our creativity. Point number 7. And I've led up to this point a few times. Now I'll kind of flush it out. And that is, the point is called Our Kindness Goes Too Far. And that's a title for the problem of ultra-liberalism. My friends, whoever you are out there, you are most likely, unless you're a jihadist, you are most likely a liberal, in the sense that you believe in the rights of human beings, you believe in freedoms and liberties, you believe in opportunities for all, equally. But you also have to know that when you're fighting crime, you sometimes have to curtail those liberties. Dealing with people who have no respect for those liberties and want to utilize those very liberties as portals to spread, to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Anyway, sneak in their hate, their brand of destruction through the pores of liberalism. We have to stop that. We cannot allow them to seep in their hate. What do I mean? I mean to say that you can't talk about the jihad in terms of freedom of speech. You can't allow them to congregate in their schools or in their mosques and to teach Nazism, Nazi-style hate of Jews. You cannot do that. You cannot be liberal with them. You have to crush those congregations. We have to send out a signal that says, if you have a jihadist thought against Jews, a seditious thought against Israel in your mind, we can hear it, and we're going to get you. We have to be everything but liberal. with jihadist ideology, jihadist propaganda, and the jihadist messaging that's going out through Facebook and going out through these mosques and going out even, sadly, in our very Knesset, where there are Knesset members that are seditious and hateful and call for the destruction of Israel. We cannot allow that to spread. So with all due respect to the mighty love of liberalism that Israel has, it has to be pulled back when dealing with the very illiberal and destructive force of the jihad. They have to be subdued at all costs. And in fact, we have to be everything but liberal with them. Everything but. We have to chase them to the ends of the world. And that's the kind of more robust and aggressive attitude that we have to take, one that curtails their freedoms of speech and other liberal values so that good people, especially ourselves, but others who seek freedom in life can have those opportunities. You must be illiberal with the illiberal in this case so that the good folks could have a chance. You got to fight the jihad all the way. Now, a point about how to speak to the jihad. This one is called Don't Mess with Allah. It's point number 8 on my article, which you can see the links below here on YouTube. But the article was on Hayom, and also Algemeiner. And point number 8 here on Ion Zion is don't mess with Allah. What I mean by that is not to be afraid of the jihad, certainly, but to employ some of its language. I use this all the time when I speak with Arab interlocutors. You could see me doing it on Al Jazeera as well. And basically what I say to them is, to the would-be jihadists, listen, Allah loves you. Allah loves you. He's given you 22 countries. He's given you oil coming out of the ground. And that's amazing. But Al-Quds, that is Jerusalem, and the Holy Land, he has given to the Jewish people. How do I know? Because if Allah would have wanted to give it to you, he wouldn't have made you lose war after war against Israel. And he wouldn't have put us here to succeed. He wouldn't have helped us succeed, Israel, if it wasn't his will. It's Allah's will that we are here. And guess what? Even the Quran says that the Jewish people are going to come back to the land of Israel. And there's no way we could have beaten you because we are not stronger than you. We're not bigger than you. We're not richer than you. It's only because Allah wills it. Yes, Allah wills it. You heard it here first, folks, on Ion Zion. Allah wills it that the Jewish people come back to the land of Israel. And that is indeed the case. We are coming back and we are being very successful. And if you just open your eyes and see the success, you could see Allah's blessing. And that's what I tell my Arab interlocutors. I tell them, my friends, why don't you submit to Allah's will? Isn't Islam all about submission? You should submit to his will. It's in the Quran. Look at the wars. Look at the economic success. It's from him. And you, jihad, ever since you went on this rampage to try to destroy Israel, who's really been destroyed? It's your countries who have been destroyed, not ours. Ours is flourishing, with challenges, but flourishing. Your Syria, your Iraq, etc., your worlds that are under the thumb of jihad and ISIS, they're being destroyed. Your very civilization is at threat. Ours is only beginning to be reborn. So listen to the will of Allah and respect his will that the Jewish people are coming back home. So that was point number 8, don't mess with Allah. And 2 more points to understand the jihad and how to deal with it. We have to send a signal that they'll understand very well. And that's point number 9, which is we will never leave. Again, Arab interlocutors and friends and colleagues and just folks on the other side sometimes of the aisle or the street say to me, Yishai, when will there be peace? And I say, there will be peace when you understand that we will never, ever leave, and that we are more majnoon, that's an Arab word, we are more majnoon, we are crazier than you are about this land. And we will stay here, and we will return to our ancestral homeland. We will be the indigenous people that we once were. We are reborn here in this land, and we're crazy about it. We're absolutely crazy about it, and we're going to keep coming. We're going to keep being born. Remember, when I was a kid, there was 3 million Jews in Israel. Now there are 6 million Jews. So that is the time that we're living in, and we're going to keep coming. And when we send that signal that we will never let go, and that Jewish people throughout the world are going to keep coming to Israel on aliyah or on visits, and we're going to keep having babies, and we're going to keep holding on, and we're going to keep, quote unquote, settling or coming back to our ancestral homeland. We're going to keep doing it no matter what, because we're crazy about this place. We are in love. We are passionate. We are preoccupied, not occupied. We are preoccupied with this land, always have been. Then there will be peace, because you will accept that your jihad is pointless against us. And that's a key signal that we have to send. The jihad is absolutely pointless against us. We will defeat it, and we will be here. That's an important signal to send. And point number 10, and the final point of it all, which is that if you want to understand the jihad, you have to understand that Jerusalem is at the heart of it. And we are in Jerusalem right now, broadcasting to you, or filming or taping this video. Jerusalem is the heart of the story of the Jewish people. It's also the heart of the story of the jihad against us. Most of the attacks have been Jerusalem or the Jerusalem area. And that is because the jihad has an incredible intuition that their strength comes from the Temple Mount and Jerusalem, and they want to do everything to keep us out of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. They know that their clout and their religious clout comes from holding on to this Temple Mount. And it was the famous Jewish poet Uri Tzvi Greenberg who said that whoever holds on to the mount controls the rest of the land of Israel. And they know that. They could feel it. And they also feel us coming. And they want to do everything to stop us from coming, and basically to put a cataract on the relationship that we have with Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and certainly the God of Israel, whose 2 temples stood here in Jerusalem. And they want to make sure that it doesn't go any further than that. So to deny them and defy the will of the jihad is to stay connected with Israel and Jerusalem at all costs. Pray for Jerusalem, pray in Jerusalem, come to Jerusalem, buy in Jerusalem, be part of the story no matter what, and just hold on for dear Jerusalem, for dear life in Jerusalem. Hold on and don't let the jihad push us off this ancestral capital, this broadcast tower, this lighthouse to the Jewish people, and really to the world, to the spirit of the world, spirituality in general. They want to put a cataract on the Temple Mount to darken the light of this world. We won't let them, and we won't let them keep us away from Jerusalem. And there's a simple way to do that. It's by saying, next year and every year, in a rebuilt Jerusalem, I will never let go. I'm going to keep coming, and I certainly will not be bullied away from Jerusalem. I will not be made to be afraid to come to Jerusalem, to come to the Western Wall, to go to the Temple Mount. I will not be bullied away. I will not change my plans. The opposite. If I had a plan to come to Jerusalem, I'm going to bring yet another family with me, and I'm going to do everything in my power to keep Jerusalem central in my heart, and thereby defy the jihad. Those are the 10 points that I wanted you to understand. There's a lot there, I know, and I want to hear from you. Why don't you write me an email, yishai@ionzion.com, EYEONZION, yishai@ionzion.com, and subscribe to our great channel here, and also check out our Twitter feed and our Facebook page, all that stuff. It's all either Ion Zion or Yishai Fleisher, and I want to bid you adieu. Lots of blessings from Jerusalem, lots of strength. Keep strong, keep connected, keep the story burning in your heart, and never let them be afraid, never be bullied, and broadcast the message past yourself, to your kids, to your friends. Never be afraid, be strong. We're living in amazing times. This is Yishai Fleisher signing out. Shalom, sayonara, and God bless.